Welcome to the Sens Spotlight podcast brought to you by the Sick Podcast Network. Before we get started, bet the beauties with Betway and scan the QR code on the screen or click on the link in the details section to create an account and download the app. Must be 19 plus. Please play responsibly. Betway is an official sponsor of your Ottawa Senators. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe and hit that hype button on YouTube. That really helps out the show. And today we are joined by a colleague of mine at Sportsnet who just got into Ottawa, covering the team for us. He's our bureau chief, Adam Stanley. I think we're just going to kind of let Sens fans get to know him a little bit, and I think you guys will really like him. So we have Adam Stanley on the docket today. So hit it.
Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to the Sick Podcast. Sens Spotlight.
Here's Alfredson, bursts the speed, gets a shot away, scores! Daniel Alfredson ends the game in overtime and sends the Ottawa Senators to the Stanley Cup Final for the first time in franchise history.
The sickest Ottawa Senators podcast. It's gonna be sick.
And we are joined by my friend and colleague, Adam Stanley. Adam, just maybe tell us a little about yourself and kind of introduce yourself to Sens Nation.
What's up, man? Yes, thank you very much for having me. No, this is great. This is my very first Ottawa Senators piece of media. This is tremendous. So yeah, it was so kind of yourself, and I know friend of the show Graham Nichols and Julian McKenzie as well, and some of the other media folks to welcome me to the Sens fandom. I am a golf reporter. I am Sportsnet's golf reporter, and I've been covering golf for more than a decade now. But I live in Ottawa. I've lived in Ottawa for 10, 11 years now. And with another friend of the show, obviously, Kyle Bukauskas, moving from Ottawa out to Alberta. This was a tremendous opportunity for me. It was really great to not just have my golf work recognized on the TV side of things, but just kind of my work in general. So like you said, kind of in November of this season, we kind of got everything done and dusted. Obviously the Toronto Blue Jays making the World Series kind of caused a little bit of a delay on the network side of things. But once we were able to make everything happen, I've been covering the Senators on the TV side for Sportsnet ever since. It's been super fun. You know, obviously I don't really come from a hockey background, but I have covered the Ottawa Senators in the past. I filled in on the Canadian press on the writing side of things for a number of times. And now I've just kind of I've been in the mix. Like it's been really cool to, obviously a lot of the media guys and girls, obviously I've known for a while, but to kind of be at the rink almost every day and to learn and to grow my knowledge and to be able to report on this team that obviously has such an exciting core and an exciting potential as well. And just to kind of learn from so many people and be in the room and take it all in. And then at the end of the day, try to sound like I know exactly what I'm talking about. It's been great. So obviously the calendar turns and we're rocking and rolling with a ton of home games here in January before the big break for the Olympics in February with just the one home game. But yeah, I've been contributing to Sportsnet on the golf side of things for 6 or 7 years now. And then this is kind of my first go around on the hockey side of things. But I've been super lucky. So many of the guys in the locker room who play on the Senators are obsessed with golf, which has been great for me. And
do you have any stories to share?
I bring in a fun perspective. Yeah, I mean the biggest one, the funniest thing for me is that a couple years ago, maybe 2 years ago, I interviewed Drake Batherson for a story, PGA of America. It was kind of a kicking off the hockey season. It was like, who can I maybe talk to? Because so many golf guys are hockey guys and vice versa. And Ian Mendez was like, originally I wanted to talk to Brady because there was a photo of Brady drinking out of the or Brooks Koepka was drinking out of the Stanley Cup with Brady after Matthew Tkachuk won it. It was down in Florida at some point. So I was like, Brady's got to be a golf guy. I want to talk to Brady. And Ian was like, well, you should know that Drake Batherson's actually the best golfer on the team. And I said, oh, really? Okay, like that's great. This was a couple years ago, so I didn't really know anything about Drake Batherson, but I looked into him, and yeah, sure enough, like not only is he the best golfer on the team, but he's probably the best golfer in the NHL. The way that the handicap system works is that the handicap, of course, in golf is your average score. So I'm about a 13 or 14 handicap. So that's I on average shoot 13 or 14 over par every round. Now Drake is like a +2 handicap. So that means that Drake like shoots under par on average every time he goes out and plays. And I was like, yes, 100%. This sounds great. Let's do it. So I come to the rink. It's like a completely random day. It's like I think it's like one of these optional skates. So there's a few people around, but one of the media guys, Sly, he comes and grabs me. He takes me away from where everyone else is standing, and I get to go kind of in the sneaky area where they're riding their stationary bikes. And Sly says to me, "Oh, this will be like an old school Ottawa Senators interview." And I was like, I don't know what you're talking about. But turns out I've since been informed that there used to be some stationary bike interviews that happened a while ago. So anyways, all that to say, Drake and I had a wonderful chat. Drake's father is actually a much better golfer than Drake, which is wild. And we had a wonderful conversation about, the why golf and hockey kind of work so well together. And then Drake told me that he's such a big fan of Brooke Henderson, and he finally got to meet Brooke Henderson a couple of weeks ago when Pittsburgh was in town. Incredible photo, Sidney Crosby, Drake, and Brooke all together. Brooke, who maybe some of the listeners may know or casually know, she's Canada's best golfer, probably will go down in history as Canada's best golfer of all time. She's won 14 times on the LPGA Tour, including 2 major championships, including this past summer she won the CPKC Women's Open, which is the Canadian Women's Open, and she won that in Mississauga. And yeah, Drake told me the day after he got to meet Brooke that they're going to try to get a round in together. Maybe Abbott, which is the number 1 golf course in the country. It's out east, obviously, where Drake plays a lot and Sydney plays a lot, and Brooke has a corporate partnership with Cabot. So, a lot of the guys love the game, which is awesome. They played at a incredible private club when they were on their Californian road trip a couple weeks ago in November. Most of the guys kind of got out and swing sticks, and they try to do that as much as they can. And I know a lot of them are fans of the game. So that's been really cool for me.
I'd love to watch Claude Giroux play golf and just see how animated he would be every time he shot something into a bunker or into the
Claude's
trees.
Really good. Yeah,
I've heard he's a really good golfer, but that's the kind of guy where you just love to see their reactions of just missing, and also maybe sinking a really nice eagle putt or something like that.
Because it's true. Like one of the curious thing, well, curious maybe is too strong of a word, but like the energy covering hockey since I've been doing it, because I've been there so many times now, like these, like they get fired up when things are, and I think it's because, the game moves so fast and these guys are so highly skilled, and it's not like I took it for granted, but I come from a world where things are slow and measured. And this game is like they're ripping quick and they're big and they're loud, and they just, when they win, they know every game and every moment is so meaningful. So it's not all that surprising to see this just absolute unleash of emotion, when a goal gets scored, or back to Drake when Drake dropped the mitts and fought a couple games ago. And what do we see? It was the first time in like 3 years that he had fought, and now you and I, we were just in the room, and Brady, he's out there talking about still a week later how proud he was of Drake Batherson going out there and fighting, because it's just not something he does. So, to bear witness to how much the team kind of matters to one another, and how much just energy and just excitement they do have, like I said, coming from the world that I come from, it's awfully different. But, to apply these guys' energy to a new game would be pretty fascinating for sure.
And I think the thing is, like, and you might feel this more than me, is, I used to, people don't know this maybe, but I used to cover a little bit of basketball. Like I covered Canada basketball, but I think when you're around athletes, you realize that as much as they are skilled at whatever sport they play, as much as their personalities, their competitiveness, and it translates to everything, right? Like you always think about like the Michael Jordan, like ultra competitive about, everything from, golf to to gambling probably too. So, but I think just for you maybe, and it's been interesting to be around the guys, is like they are competitive about everything.
Oh yeah.
Right? And it's this interesting psyche that I can never really get into, because it's like, I like tennis, I play sports, but do I really care if I win this game on a Tuesday that has nothing to do with everything else in my life? Like I don't have this like almost killer instinct, right? And I think what you see, and probably what you've felt a little bit, is that competitiveness being around those guys.
Yeah, a million percent. And I know that, the people who listen to this podcast are, they're big fans of the team, and they want to see the team do well. And of course you want that. And the cool thing for me, coming from an individual sport to now a team sport, you can really tell that there's so much just like lift. You want everybody in the room wants everyone else in the room to do well and to have success. Tim's on his 12-game point streak, and the first thing that he says when he was asked about it was like, I play with good players. They're getting me the puck, or, they're scoring when I find them, like that sort of stuff. So to kind of, I come from the complete opposite world with respect to, the guys. Golf is the most individualistic of games, probably other than tennis, which is, what you mentioned a few minutes ago. So, it's been very cool to kind of just learn and see and feel, how much everybody wants to have success for one another, especially considering I come from an opposite world. And you talk about competitive instinct. So on Sportsnet, there's TGL. TGL is this new Rory McIlroy, Tiger Woods co-founded indoor simulator league, basically. And you think, how could these guys, the best golfers in the world, get up for essentially video game golf? And I asked that to Xander Schauffele the other last year. And Xander Schauffele's top 5 in the world. He won 2 majors last year. He's incredible. And he was like, it's all about competitiveness. He's like, doesn't matter if it's in a simulator, if it's on the course, if it's at Augusta National for the Masters. Like, I just want to beat everybody else. He's like, you could ask me to do a best of 3 throwing a rolled up ball, a paper ball into a garbage can, and I would want to kick your butt. And I was like, oh, wow. Okay. So these guys, like, they just think different. And I think I've seen that a little bit too, kind of in the locker room as well. Like, they all want to do well, but they all want everybody else to do well too.
And that's something I really enjoy about the game of hockey, is how much it feels like everyone's pulling in the same direction, right? Like I like basketball, other sports, right? Football, it feels like it's always the quarterback that kind of saves the day or whatever the case may be. But in hockey, it's like, it's such a team oriented sport that I think it really, you almost, there's an extra passion when you feel like everyone's kind of achieved something, like winning a game, right? Versus like in golf or tennis or, individualistic sports, you kind of are in awe of the performance, but there's not that kind of drag me, kind of into the fire, which you kind of obviously get from the Senators team and just on this team. I guess just from you, is there any other insights that you've kind of felt, or anything that's maybe stood out from just being around the team? Like, I know you were around the team a little bit beforehand, but just being in the room all the time. Because I remember just being like, oh yeah, that's Claude Giroux. He's just sitting in his stall. But do I say something? And then, going up and like, hey, I'm Alex. Nice to meet you. And it's, you're like, oh, they're right there. Yeah. And I'm sure you felt that with golf too. But
the hockey, like these hockey, like they're big boys. I don't come from the world where these guys are all that big. So certainly and we also don't go in the locker room in the same manner in which I do now go in the locker room. So it's been different. It's been super fun. I have learned so much, kind of just not only about the game, but about like the guys. Even if, we did this podcast 3 weeks ago, like now I know who like Tyler Clevin is, like not a drive-by on him sort of thing, but it's like, wow, look at this roster. Like I kind of actually know what's going on again, which is neat. I think to your question, maybe specifically about if there's been anything that I've kind of like bared witness to, not much. At the end of the day, I think the athletes are athletes. We have a job to do, right? Like this is, I don't want to get too kind of how the sausage is made, but you and myself and the other writers and the other TV people that you've had on this podcast, we are going in to try to do our job and to ask questions and to try to get the best answers possible. Sometimes the answers are really good. Sometimes the answers are good, but short. Sometimes the answers are long, but ridiculous. But they all know that like our job is just part of their job, which has been great. The one thing I will say is like, I can't believe how much Travis Green like talks to us. And, the fans might kind of just maybe take it for granted is too strong of a word, but like if this was another sport, like in our sport, like let's say Tiger Woods is a bad example because he talks all the time. But let's say Scotty Scheffler goes out on Thursday, the first day of a tournament, the number one player in the world, and he shoots 77. Like he's not going to come and talk, and then the next day talk, and then the next day talk twice because it's Sunday is going to do a pre and then a post. Like Travis Green, the coach of the Ottawa Senators, talks so much, and that's something that was like almost like and I will say that's almost jarring for me because it's like, man, we just had you yesterday, we had you twice the day before, we had you the day before that, and in today's game day we're gonna have you twice again, and it's like, okay, what really are we gonna get from this? But I guess because there's so many players on the ice and there's potential things that could go on and it's a win or it's a loss or there's an impact of XYZ, then you kind of want to continue to ask a bunch of different questions about all those things. But I will say Travis has been like fine to me, great to me. Funny story that maybe I told you because you were obviously in the room, but for the listeners, as I am trying to learn my role and my interactions with the coach who, like I said, talks so much. The other night, obviously, they had played so poorly against Columbus, right? Yeah. Travis Green comes out and says, worst game of the season, total stinker, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. We're not going to wash it off too fast. Next game, they come out and they're down 2-0, of course, in the first period. And everybody thinks like, holy smokes, this is still going, what's happening? So the obvious line of questioning after the game, because they come back and win, is what did you say between the first and the second period? And he's like, I can't really repeat it. And then he's like, okay, well, what's the PG version? And he just said, let's go, basically. So there's a bunch of questions about that. But I'm thinking, okay, well, they came back and then they came back to win. So what's the message between the second and the third period? Is there specifics? Are you talking about just doing XYZ? Are you trying to put plays together? Or are you just kind of letting the guys cook? And he leans back and he's like, well, I wouldn't quite say that. And he kind of like laughs at me because I don't really know what else to say. I'm just like, if you're playing well in golf, like you're just going to let the boys cook. You're just going to let them cook. And he's going to cook. And then Travis gives me, whatever he gives me, 45 seconds. And then at the end, he kind of smirks and he says something like, we just, we cooked. And then he smiled. And I was like, all right, we're good. Yes. we didn't completely mess it up. So anyways, for everyone who's listening, that's kind of like the situations that I found myself in is like, I have covered golf for almost half of my adult life, and I've played the game for 80% of my life. So I come from that world. I come from that space. I have terms and phrases and learnings that I'm almost like trying to apply hockey to, if only to be able to like fully understand it, because I want to learn. I want to do this well. I want to do fans of the team who watch the team. I want to do them all like a service. So if this is kind of how I'm starting to put kind of the hockey stuff into my brain to be able to, reiterate it back and report on it properly, then sometimes I just got to let them cook. They just got to cook. And
I was just thinking in my mind, I'm like, what is the analogy in golf for pucks and deep? And I'm like, I'm thinking, is it like a short drive? I don't know, but we'll figure it out as we go along the way.
Even like Staios, right? Like Steve Staios talked to us a couple of days ago, and he was, he came up and he's like, yeah, the goaltending, it's pure math, right? The goaltending hasn't been all that good, and then the special teams hasn't been all that good, and we're working through it. And to me, that's kind of like, okay, it's a bit of a hit and hope, right? Like we got the pieces, but it's like, okay, you're gonna tee it up, and you're gonna hope that this drive finds the fairway. And if you keep doing it, then inevitably the more repetitions that you have, the more work that you put in, you're probably going to end up finding the fairway. But of course, maybe you don't. So 2 wins in a row. Alex, you've been there. I've been there. We've seen it.
Talking about the goaltending and PK. I love it.
Cooking. I know. And again, I don't ever thought that I would, bring this up and a sentence like this would come out of my mouth, but here we are and we're doing it. And I think it's like, what do you think? 2 wins in a row, obviously. Pardon my turn of phrase, but they're cooking. They got a big one on Monday night. They have a big home game, and then they're on the road against 2 tough teams. So it's like, okay, this is prime. Like this is prime time. 9 games left at home.
Is this an Amazon plug? Prime time. I love it. No, I completely agree. I think this game tonight, this podcast will come out right before the game tonight, but like they play Detroit, obviously Alex DeBrincat, longtime senator for that 1 year. Obviously he's coming back to Ottawa. The Wings
Get an ovation maybe for his.
Oh, I think he's gonna get boos. I think that's what he's gonna get.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll see. I don't know. It's like what's the statutory of limitations on booing a guy that passed out? I don't know.
Limitations.
Yeah, statute, not statutory. But in the end, I do think this team right now, Leevi Meriläinen in his first 2 games since Allmark's, taking his leave of absence, he's looked much better. Or actually, last 3 games, but the last 2 games, he's looked much more assertive. Travis Green, after that game against Washington, said that Meriläinen was a bit nervous. I think he's finding his game a little bit slowly. I thought he played relatively well against Winnipeg. For me right now, if Leevi Meriläinen can be the guy, I think this team's okay. Because if you look at every metric, you watch the games, it's not like the Senators get outplayed most nights, right? They just aren't getting enough saves. They lose. I think they lead the league in 1-goal games. I need to get our sick podcast stat checker on the loose, which is me. And I do
spoiler
think
alert, it's me.
Spoiler alert, yeah. But I do think overall this team's in an okay place. And if they win tonight, they could be tied for the last wildcard spot, right? If some results go their way. So they're in an okay place, and they've had injuries to Tkachuk, Shabbat, Pinto, who I think is really an important player. Like, I think within the Sens organization, they think he's one of their most important players, even though he's, technically their 3C. So I think this team's in an okay spot, but they need to get cooking. And I think for this team right now, it's continually not getting into losing streaks. It's picking up points consistently. You have little lulls. You might lose a game or 2 here, but basically, as being around the team, it's 4-game winning streak, 3-game losing streak, 4-game winning streak. It's been in those ebbs and flows, and that makes you a 500 team, which this team has been, or kind of on the bubble. They need to go playing some pretty good, 700 hockey where they're winning 7 out of 10 games, right? And I think they can do it. I guess just from your vantage point, and I won't quiz you too much, but what do you make of just this team's kind of the up and downs of the season, just from what you see?
Yeah, I mean, that's probably the most prominent storyline that even when I first kind of started doing this a couple months ago and was really kind of trying to ramp up my knowledge of the team, it's like, man, even I know Brady Tkachuk, and even I know that dude is the captain of the team, and he's like, oh wow, wait, he's out for how long? So that's kind of, it's like the squad, for all of the things that they've had to go through, adversity, I guess you could call it that, but just inconsistency of manpower, maybe is the best way to describe it. Travis hasn't really had the opportunity to just be every night, these are the guys, right? Every single night we're rocking with these guys. And because it's hockey's a hard game. It's a rough game. You're going to have guys go out. You're going to have guys be gone for long stretches of time. And it's been tough to kind of see the Ottawa Senators have their big names, their expensive, prominent, important players be out for not just hey, he's day to day. He'll be back by the time we get to Hockey Night in Canada on Saturday. It's no, man. These guys have been out for long times. And then, of course, you have Linus, who is $8 million a year, former Vezina Trophy winner, et cetera, and et cetera, and et cetera. And it's we don't know when he's going to be back.
Yeah.
We're obviously wishing him and his family all of the best. Of course. Yeah. But at the end of the day, this is a hockey team with the singular objective of trying to make the playoffs again, trying to win games. And they are leaning on, some, can I say, an unproven goalie tandem that is going to be the duo that is finally supporting the rest of the team that seems to be back from all of the stuff that has ailed them, right? You can please correct me if I'm wrong, but now that there's, Brady's back and Pinto's back and Shabbat is back, and these are just the big
they're all healthy
who play big minutes, and they have big roles and they're big names. And look at that part, we're locked and loaded. But then the part of the the team that Steve Staios has said that they're, struggling with, and the math is mathing to bear witness to how much, the goaltending has not been spectacular this season. Now that's the big question mark. And it's like, oh my gosh, can they not get any kind of stroke of luck or strike of luck on their side? It might be too little too late if they get the whole squad back together after the Olympics or something like that. But kind of to your point, if only to see they're above 500, obviously, right? They're playing good hockey, of course. They're winning some games. They seem to be stringing some together, and they need to continue to do that. And I think this month is going to be a really big one as it relates to taking the step that everybody wanted to take, make the playoffs, as well as, just say where we at? What's that kind of post-Olympic 7-week stretch into the playoffs? Hopeful playoffs. What's it going to be like? This month is like we're at the tipping point right now. We're at
for sure. And you alluded to without Allmark, their goaltending situation. Like again, Hunter Shepard has 5 games of career NHL games under his belt. Mads Sogard, who maybe
did you say 5?
5, yeah. He's played 5 NHL games. So not the most experienced guy. And I do wonder, Steve Staios, you were there. He didn't give a timeline for Allmark's return. And, obviously if you're dealing with a personal matter, time is not is of the essence, but for you to figure it out, and there's no rush, of course. At the same time, that leaves the Senators in a really sticky predicament where they can't. His cap space still counts for the cap, of course. Do you get another goaltender? I think you have to if you think Allmark's out for a while. But who is it? There's not many goalies on the market. Obviously, Staios talked about how because all the teams are close up, there's no one that's really willing to sell. So there's not a lot of teams that are like, hey, give us a 4th round pick and we'll take your third goalie off your hands.
Go. We're good.
Right.
Yeah.
So they're in a sticky situation, and I think that also goes to the defense as well, and top 6. And we've talked about the top 6, top 4. You've heard it plenty of a time. But
I'm learning.
When you have no 1st round pick this year, and you don't have a lot of prospects, and Yakimchuk and Hensler haven't been as strong kind of as their last 2 1st round picks, you're kind of in this position where it's like, well, how do we upgrade the team dramatically and make this team not just like a good team, but a great? But I do think your point is fair, is like if they, and again, we can't beat this drum too much, but if they had league average goaltending, I swear to God, this team would be at the top of the Atlantic.
But it's just, to me, it's just math, right? Like if it's the same as like if Corey Connors was just an average putter, he probably would have won a major by now, right? It's like I can take any of the people that I cover and have covered and the sport that I know more than anything, and I can just kind of apply it to this, and I'm like, yeah, that's probably what the situation is that we're dealing with right now. So,
and that's what makes like the best players in the world and the best teams in the world so interesting, because they don't have that ironclad flaw, right? Like, Tim Stützle's like he needs to shoot more, right? Like that's there's bigger problems than that. Or like Brady Tkachuk, like he cares too much, right? Like it's one of those things where like when you're the creme de la creme, and I'm not trying to besmirch Corey Connors, hell of a golfer, and has had a great career, so good on him. But it's just interesting to see like just almost as a team right now, maybe to that Connors point, keeping the golf analogies here. Right now, their goaltending is, Corey Connors' putting ability or not being elite at that, right? Or that's their massive hole in their game right now, and it's holding them back.
It can be good. Like didn't Leevi? Please jump in here. But didn't Leevi have an incredible
last year? Yeah. So last year,
so it can go right?
In goaltending, and as people know, goaltending, like this city had the Hamburglar run where like a 4-string goalie had the craziest stretch of hockey ever and went 21-2 for the Senators, and they miraculously made the playoffs. Like that can happen. Again, you don't want to bet on that, right? Like it's not a good bet. It's like 1 in 100, 1 in 1,000. I think with the Senators right now, I think Leevi, if he can get a string of games, I know I've talked to him about it, and he said like He's never been a backup at any time in his career. He was this year, and there's a rhythm to it, right? You might not play for 2 weeks, right?
Right.
And that's hard to, like anyone, if you don't do your craft. I mean, obviously you're practicing, but if you're not in that game kind of environment for a long time, it's hard to be at your best. And I wonder if now that if he plays the next month, gets a bit under, just some experience, but also just kind of being comfortable and knowing, hey, I'm going to get the reins. I have to be locked in. I know it's my time. And just having that sense of clarity, I think that could really help him out. And I think the last 2 games, you really saw him kind of be, he wasn't crazy excellent, but he was good enough for the Senators to win. And I think if they get that Leevi for the last 2 games, which is very, very, very small sample size, I actually think the Senators will be in a good spot.
Yeah, I'm sure you've talked on this pod about, goaltending a lot, and it's probably going to be something that continues to be talked about, if only because, it's the thing, it's like what's either missing, or what's the thing that people are going to be analyzing a lot of, or what's the thing that people are going to be looking at a lot of, because again, like of where they're at in, I guess, save percentage, they're at the bottom of the league right now. Right. So it's like, hey man, there's only one way this can go, and it's got to go up in order to have kind of the opportunity for the team itself to also go up. I think it's a great comment about being a starter and getting into a rhythm. The guys on the PGA Tour talk all the time about like playing tournament golf, and if they're a little bit rusty, like they're obviously not just sitting at home, like sitting on their hands, like they're probably going to the range, or they're probably playing 9 holes with friends or something. But inside the ropes, under the gun at a PGA Tour event is completely different than any of that. So you kind of almost have to get tournament golf ready. And if you're saying, about Leevi, that he's trying to find the rhythm, well, it's like, you're the man, so find the rhythm.
He's going to find rhythm. It just, will it be good enough, right? Like, it's almost,
and exactly. And will it be enough before we kind of get to the Olympic break? And either are you going to fall one way, or are you going to fall the other way, or are you going to kind of still be right there, and you kind of have to sprint through to the finish? Like, this week is a great example. Home, they won 2 games. They're at home Monday night. And then, of course, they're going on the road pretty far. And, of course, they're playing Colorado in one of these games.
On the second night of a back-to-back. Yeah, that doesn't inspire any. I've prepared for that podcast already.
Right? Colorado's lost 3 games so far this season?
They just lost to Florida last night. Okay, so that they're at 3. No, you're right about the 3.
Now they're at 3?
Yeah, I think so, yeah. So they can be beaten by a team in the Eastern Conference. But that team just won the last 2 cups. So different, but you never know. And I find sometimes, like I remember last year, this team was struggling a bit, and they went into Carolina, and Carolina is one of the best teams in the league, really good home team, and Allmark played well, and they beat Carolina. And it just felt like, they beat one of the best teams in the league kind of in a disadvantageous position. And I kind of feel like if the Senators can somehow win tonight against like if you beat Detroit, you're actually getting pretty close to catching up with them, which is an interesting kind of storyline as the season progresses with the DeBrincat trade and the ties between the 2 organizations. But if you can go into Detroit, win that, or into Ottawa, beat Detroit tonight, and then hopefully you beat Utah. But if you can win that game in Colorado, I think it will inspire this confidence in this team. Okay, we can go up against the big boys, the best team that maybe has ever played in the regular season, and find a way to win. I think that could give a lot of confidence for the team, especially on the second night to back-to-back. I don't know what the odds are, but I know they're not in Ottawa's favor. I'll tell you that. But
your friends at Betway would know what the odds
exactly. Were. I need to bring them. I need to ask them, actually. Thanks for the plug.
The boys have you're talking about this back-to-back. They got to cook. They got to cook. That's as simple as possible. Yeah, man.
Exactly.
Thanks, buddy. Yeah.
No, this has been great. So this big game tonight for the Senators. Alex DeBrincat revenge game. I think if the Senators can find a way to win, you really feel good about where they're at. At the same time, Detroit's had their number at times, but of late the Senators have been looking better, and I know Detroit's been struggling of late. So we will see what happens. But Adam, thanks so much for talking some golf, talking some Sens. I'm really excited. It's been great to have you on the beat the past month or so, and I'm excited for fans to just really get to know you a little bit more and be around you.
Yeah, well, that means a lot, and to everyone who's listening and fans of the team, I'm learning, I'm growing, and I just want to do well. So let's keep this going. It should be a fun little stretch here, and obviously, once spring is kind of around the corner, you'll see a little bit less of me with golf season underway. But Alex, your support's meant a lot, and obviously all the other media folk up in the press box has been great. So I'm looking forward to a fun little stretch here with the calendar turn to 2026.
You're learning and growing like the Ottawa Senators. I love it, Adam. Okay, well, thanks so much for taking the time and doing this. I'm sure we'll have you on again, and thanks everyone for watching.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Sick Podcast Sens Spotlight on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts.